We want to start the final hour of the show, though, with the Russell Wilson Denver Bronco divorce. It was official yesterday. They cut Russ. They're going to eat $85 million in dead cap.
Unlimited.
Yeah, Mr. Unrestricted Free Agent is what that is. We had Brad Spielberger on. He does cap stuff for PFF. And we had the Denver guy on about a week ago. They both told us they're going to break this up into two parts, and the first year is going to be a little less. It'll give them salary cap space. Next year, they'll pick up a little bit more. But now the most expensive dead cap contracts in NFL history. Top 5, Russell Wilson's is on that list twice. Him as a Seahawk, him as a Denver Bronco. We knew this was coming, but it's final now. It's over. He is no longer a Denver Bronco. Schefter says there's more teams in play for him than you'd think. Mm-hmm. Where are you at on Russell Wilson, Denver, how we're feeling about all this? I got a lot of feelings about this where, Will, I don't look at him as a guy anymore. Is he good?
You shouldn't.
He's okay.
Yeah,
I also am questioning Denver now. I think it's officially okay to start questioning the franchise a little bit.
Yeah, yes and no. Because remember, like when he did go to Denver, everyone was like, "Oh my God, they were a quarterback away."
No, I'm not mad at them taking the swing. I like that they took the swinge, but I think, I don't know, just how quickly it all unfolded, what they did with Hackett, and Peyton comes in, and he's instantly red-ass guy who kind of gets, all of the things he wants.
He seemed to have wanted Russ out of there.
He did not like Russell Wilson.
By the time that he took the job.
Screamed at him on the sidelines of a game.
But I also feel like Seattle was able to get out of this at the perfect time because Russ got hurt.
Yeah.
So no one got to see the true descent, although if you were really paying attention to these Seattle games and these Seattle teams, once teams figured out the changes that they made to that offense at the beginning of the year that made them so successful, there was always a drop-off the last 2 to 3 years when they had Schottenheimer there, and it was because Russ couldn't make these adjustments, and he became more and more of, I want to be a pocket passing guy, I need to be a pocket passing guy. And what made him so great was his ability to move and throw on the run and be that game manager, unselfish player that he didn't want to be anymore. And so then he goes into Denver, and right away he's got his own office. I have an open door policy for my teammates. No teammate's going to go in there. You need to be in the locker room. There's something about being one of the guys. You're not a guy, but you need to be in that locker room to build that trust and that camaraderie. What I think that you're going to get for Russ to be successful, and at least what it seems like he wants to be after listening to the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, is he wants to get back to what he was before because he knows if he wants to stay in the league, that's what he has to do. If he wants to get a spot at Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, insert a team that might be on the
Falcons
look.
need a quarterback.
Right. If Kirk Cousins leaves, the Vikings, right? So you insert these teams, he has to go back to being that game manager, Russell Wilson, where I'm going to try and get the ball to my wide receivers. I'm not going to make the dumb mistakes. I'm going to make the good pre-snap reads. I'm going to be okay handing the ball off. But I also think that he has now entered that stage of his career where he is a true stopgap quarterback. If you are going to go and grab Russell Wilson, you are grabbing him fully planning on drafting his backup and expecting him to kind of train and move that backup along.
Well, but the role you're citing, though, I mean, is that not what his season was last year? Were they not basically telling him to do what you just said, hand the ball off, don't turn the football over, get the ball out quick? He barely, by the way, in this NFL, in this economy, barely threw for 3,000 yards.
Right.
He was
also benched for a couple games.
Well, but whose fault is that? It's not like he was doing anything exceptional. Yeah, he did get benched. He wasn't very good. I just did not get the smart NFL people that were telling me, oh, no, he's actually having a good year. No, he's not. I was watching these games. He had 3,070 yards, 26 tuds, 8 picks, and a 66 completion percentage. I don't know, man. I think what you're describing is what they wanted him to do last year, and they didn't think he did a good enough job. So this is either a Sean Payton has lost it, has no idea what he's doing anymore, and I'll certainly listen to that. But, if he does this in Pittsburgh, you think that's going to play well?
I think that's what Pittsburgh wants. I think this fits perfect for Pittsburgh.
They just watched their quarterback be mediocre to bad.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that Russ could be a step up, but the reason that I like Pittsburgh best for Russ is because you turn it into a true three-way competition, and then you can really pick the quarterback that you think is the best.
Dude, if you're in a competition with Pickett and
Rudolph, but that's where he is now. That's what he is.
Then he's got no chance.
See,
he's got no chance of succeeding. If that's where he truly is, then all this team interest is not going to matter because he's not going to be good enough.
See, but I think he probably beats out Pickett, and then it's between him and Rudolph because at this point,
Rudolph is behind. He was behind Pickett most of last year.
He looked better than Pickett when Pickett played. But here's the thing:
that's wild that we're talking about Russell Wilson like this,
right? But it fits because you have a good O-line, you have a great defense, especially when T.J. Watt is playing, and you have two running backs that have been better than average. In fact, I'd say darn right fantastic for them, and he fits what Mike Tomlin wants to do. It's also the perfect spot because if Pittsburgh goes and they sign Russ, they can sign him for a league minimum, right? That's what Brad said, and that's what all these cap experts are saying. You can sign him for a league minimum so he doesn't hurt your pocketbook. It's an easy grab.
Yeah.
For Pittsburgh, it's perfect because if Russ comes in and he wins the job, you have a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a guy who knows how to get the job done. Can he perform at the way he used to? Absolutely not. But he's a perfect 2 to 3 year stopgap quarterback while you go and you draft the replacement. I think they move on from Pickett because Pickett has shown what he is. He's not a very good quarterback. He's below average, and he's too young. If you can move on from him, now you can go with Russ and say, well, if Russ gives us 2 good years, we can sneak into the playoffs for a year or two. We draft the replacement. He learns under Russell Wilson. He takes 2 years to grow, and then he can grow. If Russ loses out to Mason Rudolph, then that's perfect for them as well because you already have your stopgap. The difference is
I don't want him as my backup.
He's fit. Oh, I think he gets cut, and then you'd leave Pickett there.
Why are you only so not you?
Right.
Well, kind of you.
It is kind of me.
A lot of people, though. Like, why is it only Pittsburgh? Atlanta?
I'm not saying...
The Raiders?
I'm not only saying Pittsburgh.
He could stay in the division and just go for Pierce if they're even into that. I don't think he matches what they are, but...
Right.
And that's the other part that we don't take into account. Like, look, we're all a little different and weird. Right. We're all weird.
He's weird.
He's weird.
He's weird.
He's a weirdo. He has these like identity crisis. He changes who he is as a person. He talks differently depending on who he's talking to. I just don't. I think you have to take into account, as dumb and weird as it is, I think you have to take into account character and personality type and how is this going to play in my locker room. Does Pittsburgh and Tomlin strike you as his personality fits in with that? I don't see that. It certainly doesn't strike me that he fits in with Pierce and the Raiders' new kind of identity they're aiming for. Atlanta's the most underrated. I think their defense is good. I think Raheem Morris can get that thing to be good. And if they have the right quarterback, they can win that division.
Which
I don't know where he fits. How does he fit into any of these teams?
I think Pittsburgh, the reason I've been using Pittsburgh as the example is I think it's the best fit for both teams.
They're the most desperate maybe for it, and he needs...
Well, I don't think they're going to get Kirk Cousins. Because I think Kirk Cousins, if you're looking at the free agent quarterbacks, he's probably the number one. Baker's probably the number two, but
unless he gets signed.
Well, and the thing is Tampa just re-signed Mike Evans, so to me, that leads to they're going to go after Baker again, and they're going to want to keep Baker, and they're going to run it back, which, to me, that's the smart thing to do in that division. New Orleans, they're in cap hell, and they're old. Carolina's a dumpster fire. All you got to do is get through Atlanta, and you can make it to the playoffs. So I think that's the perfect decision there. If I'm Atlanta, Russ is nowhere near the first person I call. I'm calling Kirk Cousins. I'm calling about maybe trying to make a trade.
Like a Justin Fields?
Or moving up in the draft, if you think that is where you want to go. So I think that Pittsburgh is down the list of where free agent quarterbacks want to go anyways. And so they have to take someone that's more on par. If you're a 6, you can't go into the bar and hit on the 10.
Well, yeah, you can. Sometimes the 10s like when the 6s talk to them. It's like, man, this 6's got a lot of confidence.
How often does that work, though? Well, usually you do better when the 6 goes and talks to the 7. Russ right now is a 6. Well, he might be a 5. Pittsburgh's a...
If it's 1 a.m., the Steelers might look over and like, hey...
That's right.
Russ, you look good right now. We had Kenny. We just broke up with Kenny.
Pittsburgh's the 6.
Kenny's no longer in our lives. We're looking for a Russell.
Had the young bull. Now you want the old bull. Look, I'm
and then
just
Mike
saying,
wakes up the next day. Tomlin, he's like, "Oh, what regret I have! I hooked up with him. What's happening? We're 0-2.
Why did we do that?
Who wins more games, Russell Wilson, whatever team he lands on as a starting quarterback, or the Denver Broncos next year? Who would you guys bet on that? We'll go on that. We'll go to the mail sack. Who wins more games, Russell as a starter or the Denver Broncos?
I think I'm gonna
because Denver's probably gonna go rookie quarterback here. I
think I go Russ. Because if he lands in Pittsburgh, they always find a way to be above 500. You're going to go rookie quarterback. Is that really a good plan? Yeah. The team isn't as good as everyone thought.
Answer. You have trailed off. You have no confidence in your response.
I don't know if Russ is going to start right away wherever he goes.
My Lord.
So I will say the Donkeys.
The Donkeys?
Yeah.
Call them the Donkeys because they're a division foe? Is that what that is?
Yeah. They've been called the Donkeys by haters for a long time.
Oh, okay, yeah. Horse, mule, I get it. I think I'm going to go with the Broncos as well. I don't see it, man. Didn't see it this year when he played. Don't see it next year for any of the teams. But again, Adam Schefter saying there's more teams interested in Russell Wilson than most think. So we'll see. Maybe there is a team, Vikings, Steelers, somebody texting Carolina or Jackson. Carolina's Bryce Young, and Jacksonville might extend Lawrence. Those aren't viable options for him.
No, it's a limited window of teams he can go to.
The Giants reportedly, Rich Eisen reported that they're out on Daniel Jones. That was the big conversation at the combine. Do you draft?
2 years too late.
Do you draft a guy, to your point, and use Russ as a stopgap? I don't know if that's better than Daniel Jones.
Yeah. Do you bring Russ in because you can get him for cheap and then beat out Daniel? It's a limited window for Russ. Not a lot for him.
Might be CFL bound, to one listener's point on the Vancouver Ford text line. Let's